Today's video features another one of my favorite decks in this time period of Heroes of Rivenbrandt, which is Mysteria Rune. This deck really came into playability and became top tier in Academy of Ages, but then after the rotation it sort of fell off and now it's like not even a top tier deck anymore. That being said, it's still quite competent at pulling off OTKs pretty quickly. Unfortunately for this deck, it also has the other problem of being relatively weak against most of the actually meta decks in this period, so really does not help its chances of being the top meta deck or anything, but fun deck. So here's the deck list. So this is the deck list we're playing for today. I just got it from my old video. I don't remember where I got that deck list from way back in the past, but here is the deck list. It cuts off here because there's too many different types of cards, but we run one copy of Craig. We also have one copy of these Mysterian Followers, Anna, Mysteria, Magic Originator, and Anne and Greya. The main star of the deck is Anne and Greya, whose ability gives you this 20 cost spell that can discount itself, and then when you play it deals 5 damage to enemy followers and then summon a bunch of Mysteria Followers and give them Storm. So this is an OTK combo deck basically. And because you want to have many different names, this deck has a very interesting construction of having only 4 Mysterian Followers. This is so that you can see as many of them as possible throughout the game. In order to find these, even because you have so little, you have one copy of Hannah, of course, which will draw a Mysterian Follower. You have 3 Freyas, which can draw your Mysterian Followers as well. And we have Mysterian Exchange Party, which is a search in the early game as well as a lethal pushing method in the late game with the buffs. Very strong spell. So this is the deck list that we're playing today. We also have one copy of Dual Barrier who can summon mainly Greya. Anne is okay, but you're mostly picking Greya because of her ability to attack twice per turn. If you give this Storm after she evolves, she does a lot of damage. Unfortunately, the spell is very expensive at 3 cost, and also it doesn't draw, so not super efficient, so we only run one copy of it. And then we also have Arcane Instruction, who can give you copies of Miss Miranda is your main pick because she can discount herself, so you can play her for very, very cheap. The main goal is just to vomit out like 4 or 5 Mysterian Followers, get an Greya spell, and then just OTK your opponent. So this is the deck list we're playing today. It's a very, very, very cheap deck with only 2 legendaries, so if you are looking for a cheap deck that you can play at a decent level, this is probably the one I would recommend. It's not the best deck ever or anything, but it's decently strong for how ridiculously cheap it is. It is a bit difficult to play, but once you pick up on how to actually play it, you'll be fine. So yeah, let's look at some games. So our first game here is against Dragon, and we're going first. Once again, we sort of just assume that it's going to be Bahamut because that seems to be the most popular Dragon deck around, even though Buff also exists, I guess, and so does this card, but neither of those seem to be seeing much play. So this is, for the Mulligan, we look for our Mysteria Followers, so Hannah, and Greya, Mysteria. Craig is a bit debatable to keep. In certain matchups, he's probably useful, but in other matchups, you don't necessarily need him, so it might be better to just toss him to look for your more important pieces. And of course, we keep Mysterian Party. And then we also keep Freya, and if you're going first, you can consider keeping Goblin's Gratitude as well, just to increase your hand. So right away, the interesting thing about this deck is that the most difficult to navigate part of this deck is the early game. Once you get your Anne and Greya down and you start discounting the spell, I think the deck sort of plays itself, but early game, most importantly is how to maximize your value from draw. So here we have Mysterian Exchange Party in our hand. We could of course just play this. We can guarantee either our Mysteria or our Craig, but however, the problem with this is that you want to keep it for the +1/+1 buff if you can, especially since we already see Hannah. We are really only missing one of our followers right now because Hannah will draw one of them guaranteed. And if we play Mysterian Exchange Party now, what will happen is that we take the one of our 2 Mysterian Followers left in the deck out of our deck, but this minimizes the chances that we can draw it naturally. The high roll here would be to draw one of them naturally, and then Hannah draws the last one, and then we can keep this for our OTK. So even though we can play it now and to guarantee the Mysteria Follower, we do keep it in our hand for now, just to have the chance that we can just draw our last Mysteria Follower naturally. So go ahead and just play Hannah here, just draw one. So now we're just missing Mysteria. pick up Magic Missile here, we're just go ahead and play that. Once again, it's not really necessary to play this now. We only play it when we need our Mysteria Magic Originator, which is we really don't right now, so we just go ahead and keep it. On the off chance we draw her naturally, we can keep this for OTK. Keeping these for OTK is especially valuable against Baha because they run things like the Giant Happy Pig, which will be able to increase their max health, so we definitely want more damage, as much damage as we can get. So we just go ahead and pass here. Another value in this situation specifically is that Mysteria and Exchange Party, we're only missing the Magic Originator. So we save this for next turn. By saving this for next time, we play it after we've added Majestic Sorcery, which we can discount this spell by 2, so it's more efficient to save it for now. Since we were already planning to play Anangrea before we played the Magic Originator anyway. Saving this for when we're gonna play Magic Originator is just more efficient, so that's what we do here. My opponent does unfortunately have the Happy Pig here, which will be able to increase their max health, so the demand on us, I guess, for finding lethal is a bit higher now. We go ahead and play one of the Mysterian Exchange Parties here just to draw the Mysteria, so that we can start discounting. There is an argument for playing Dreams of Adventure or Insight first in case we naturally draw Mysteria, but without her, Dreams of Adventure, Insight, and all our other spells don't have the Mysteria trait, so we will be slowing down our Majestic Sorcery's discount speed heavily if we do that. So against Baha in particular, our major priority is to find enough damage for lethal. Right now we have 4 names, including Hannah. Hannah can evolve to give you Mysterian Rite, which is a spell that deals 3 damage face, and we have 1 Mysterian Exchange Party with a Crushing Rain. Technically we could have just saved 2 less lethal styles, because if you do the math, Hannah plus Originator plus Craig plus Anangrea is a total of 11 damage plus Evo. Wait, no, it's not 11, it's 12 damage plus Evo becomes 14. With a Mysterian Exchange Party, it's 18. With Crushing Rain 20, with the spell that Hannah gives you, it's 23. And then with one of those less recent styles, we could have hit 24 exactly. So there is an argument for saving one of those, but we do still need to play spells to discount Majestic Sorcery in the first place, and now Han isn't super great for that. So we go and trade in those for draw instead, and hopefully draw another way to find lethal. Before the Invoke Bahamut. Once the Invoke Bahamut, it's gonna be very difficult to find lethal, so we're definitely looking for that. Currently, the spells that will give us lethal are the Arcane Instruction, another Crushing Rain, Magic Missile also works, I believe, and of course Mysterian Exchange Party will also work, and Dual Barrier also works. We just need to increase either our name or our damage output. And we're only missing 1 damage right now, so we don't need that much. Unfortunately, we do just try to draw into our deck here. Go ahead and play Magic Missile. Actually, I could have kept the Magic Missile, honestly. I would have had guaranteed lethal if I just kept the Magic Missile, so that was probably a misplay, but I think I miscalculated the amount of damage I had at this point, so I thought that I needed more, but actually the Magic Missile would have been fine, so I could just stop there. Fortunately, I do draw Crushing Rain here, so though I'm safe. Also, it's worth noting that if I had saved the Magic Missile, I could have played Winged Inversion on one of their followers. Baha doesn't tread in that much damage, but in this case, we saw them play Anti-Maria last turn. I believe it's in the log. We saw them accelerate Anti-Maria last turn, so actually they could have had lethal here if they had the main 7-cost Anti-Maria, Evo, and then Bad Catha to buff it with exact 20 damage. So if I had saved the Magic Missile and just played Winged Inversion on their followers to decrease their damage this turn, I would have had guaranteed lethal and they probably wouldn't have a way to stop it. So a bit of a misplay there on my part. But yeah, I miscalculated my damage there. So there's my opponent's Kyrie. Thankfully, it looks like they didn't have the Anti-Maria to finish me off with. As Waterman's Blessings, they will heal back up. And it will hit me as well, and there's the Baha to delete my entire deck. Unfortunately, I do have enough damage for lethal already in my hand, so we're not super concerned on that part. I think here, once again, I miscalculated how much damage I needed, so I decided to just play more cards to draw into my deck more. entirely unnecessary here, but yeah, so go ahead and play Majestic Sorcery. And see we have 12 damage on board here. We evolve Hannah and we pick the Mysterian Rite. Importantly, Mysterian Rite, it costs 5 base, and when you play a Mysteria card, it goes down to 3. So make sure you have a Mysteria card to play to discount this to 3 when you're doing this. In this case, we of course do have a lot, so go ahead and play Crushing Rain here. Then this is a nice like 25 damage over the kit, I believe. So let's move on to the next game. Our next game here is against Haven, and we're going second. Haven is usually Crystallized, although heal seems to be seeing some popularity. Arcane Instruction might be worth keeping, honestly, but if you don't see your other Mysteria names, I think it's more important to find those first. Go ahead and just toss everything, try to find Mysteria names. We got Exchange Party, we have one name there. A Dual Bearer, we can play it early if we have nothing to do, I guess. And there is the Emerald Maiden, so we do need to watch out for Crystallize. Arcane Instruction is another interesting card in the early game. You can honestly just save it. If you really need to discount something like Craig in your hand, then maybe you can consider playing Arcane Destruction early, but for the most part, it's better to just save it for after you find Anangria so that you can discount the spell using an Arcane Destruction. Just Band Beauty, so they didn't have a amulet for Skullfang to do anything, so here I just had to just open up the spell because I'm gonna play Mysteria and Exchange Party so we can start discounting Miss Miranda like right away. Important thing about this, well, I'll talk about it more in later on, but in this matchup in particular, it's important to discount Miss Miranda quickly if you're planning to use her. You will see why in a moment. So there's them having Skullfang, they have Garuda as well, so things are going well for them. We pick up a Crate here, which unfortunately means our Hannah is a bit bricky now because she doesn't draw anything anymore. This looks like a good hand because we have all our names in our hand already, but actually there is a big problem here is that we don't have spells. If you don't have spells in your hand, obviously you can't really discount Angria's effect very well, and of course you can't make good your value you get out of Mysteria, and Magic Originator is not super great either without spells in your hand, so those are not super great. I'll just go ahead and pass here. Of course there is like things like Hannah, Miss Miranda, Blitz we could have played here, but it's better to just play those after you've played Anangria so that you can discount the spell with them. There is them playing their cards. They have Skullfang, not great for us. We got Freya here, another break unfortunately. So go ahead and just draw Anangria here. And here we start vomiting out all our followers, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that normally you save these for you can save these for something like your Craig turn, you just blow up everything so you can heal a ton of damage. The main reason why we do run Craig is to heal and deal with opponent's board, so usually you save these cards like Miss Miranda or like Hannah. You play alongside Craig, you can heal yourself, you can heal AoE board, so that's how you survive until your first turn. In this case though, the biggest threat this deck runs by far is John. Because John gives their followers damage shield, and you are very reliant on Majestic Sorcery's damage effect to clear their board of wards, so we really don't want to let them play John. So generally the way you do that is you board lock them on turn 6 so that they can't play John on turn 7. So for that reason we want to vomit out all our followers now so that we don't have to play them earlier. We need to get our followers destroyed at some point. So the best chance to do it is now before they have the threat of John next turn. So this way their opponent might lock their own board while clearing ours, and then we can proceed to lock up their board next turn without worry since we have all our followers destroyed already. So here my opponent goes pretty wide here with their Diamond Master Wingy and their Azurite Maiden, which is great. They also Crystallize Holy Lightning Bird. Important to note, Skullfang's cost is 7, which means that next turn they will have 7 PP and therefore will not be able to accelerate Skullfang, which means they can't remove this Holy Lightning Bird from their board. So if we just keep these followers on board here, they actually can't play John, which is the main goal. So now we just have to go ahead and discount a Majestic Sorcery. and get Craig destroyed as well, just to guarantee the lethal. Now you might be concerned here that I'm dealing a bunch of damage to their followers, but against Crystallize in particular, it is important to remember that whenever they attack a follow with Storm or Void attacks, it gets buffed. So as long as we, well, you'll see in a moment, but we put their followers down to 1 and we have only 3 attack followers on our board, and by doing this, we can make it so that they can't actually trade off their followers, because they will get buffed and then they will no longer die when they trade. So this is a good way to make use of their Bejeweled Shrine against them. So you can see here, it looks like they will be able to unlock their own board, but because of the buff, their followers stay there. And we are able to prevent it from playing Jan. And now we have lethal with Majestic Sorcery. And we just play more spells, just, I guess, just to be safe. Sometimes I overplay for damage just to be safe because I don't want to miscalculate, but we'll just pick out Greya here so we do have lethal. It's worth noting there is a chance that instead of N and Greya we get Craig here, but in this case it's still lethal anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's it for this game, let's move on to the next one. So our next game here, my last game, is against Haven again. I don't like showing, generally as a rule I don't like to double up on opponents, but I think both of the Haven games that I have here today are just so worth showing that I'm breaking the rule to show both. Also, like I keep running into like a lot of like really weird random decks like Rally Sword and like Commander Sword, Wrath Blood, and I don't really want to show those because those aren't super interesting to watch either, so we are going with this. Here we go ahead and play Mysterian Exchange Party turn 1. This is because we don't see any other names in hand, we have no other card draw in hand, so we just make use of the 1 PP early game. We can go ahead and play the Hannah, pick up Originator. Unfortunately, we still haven't found N and Greya. Arcane Instruction is nice to have, of course. And there's them crystallizing. No Skullfane this time, which is good for us. So we have Goblin's Gratitude here, just going to draw into our deck. We pick out Craig as well, so we're only missing N and Greya now, so if we find Freya, we can also pick out N and Greya. And we just play the Arcane Instruction to discount Craig in case we need to answer their board at some point. So we can go ahead and play in Mysteria Originator just to get the Mysteria effect in place so that all our spells are Mysteria. So if we do pick up N and Greya top deck next turn, then we are on track for a pretty fast lethal. Miranda. Normally I wouldn't pop the spell so fast, but we don't see N and Greya, so there is a chance we have to look for alternative forms of lethal, which you will see in hand here. It depends on whether we find the N and Greya. Once again, as we said earlier, we want to play Miss Miranda as fast as possible so that we can look to lock their board on turn 6. Got Magic Missile here, unfortunately still no N and Greya. For most decks, you don't, well, we can continue first I guess. So we go ahead and just draw into our deck here, try to find good cards. I played Craig here, which I consider probably is a misplay, right? When I'm looking back now, it looks like a misplay to me. In this specific situation, in this matchup in particular, we don't see N and Greya yet. If we play N and Greya next turn, we will be clearing their board, they would just play Jan and then we would lose the game. So we can't really afford to win with N and Greya at this point, honestly. So at this point, we have to cut our losses and look for alternative forms of lethal, and that's what Dual Barrier here is. The Enhanced 8 gives Storm to all allied Mysterian followers, so by saving like 3 Mysterian followers that cost 0, we can build a full 20 damage OTK board actually off this spell, which I should have thought of and just maybe save Craig for it. But instead I decided to play the Craig here, I guess to make hand space so that I can draw, so I don't mill cards, but honestly there's nothing to mill. Right now our main priority is to save these 0 cost cards like Let's Feast in Style, because these are where I will get my damage from. You do have to pay the full 8 for this enhance, is worth noting, so you don't actually have play points to play anything else on that turn. So my priority should have just been to keep these 0 cost followers, keep this Let's Feast in Style, and just stall the game until later on, but instead I decided to play Let's Feast in Style to avoid milling, which again, as I said, is probably a misplay. against things that aren't Crystallize Haven and like Heal Haven maybe, even though Heal Haven is like unwinnable mostly. Against matchups that don't have Jan, you can actually play Anne and Greya for the Enhanced 7 and you can still definitely easily make it in time because the Enhanced 7 is discounts the spell by 5 automatically and gives you 2 more Mysteria cards to discount it by another 3. Which definitely helps you with hitting the lethals even if you played Anne and Greya on turn 7. Obviously in this matchup it's too late to do that, so that's not really possible. Here you can see we pick up Miss Miranda luckily to make up for the crate that we wasted. So here we just look to lock their board. Importantly, we transform the Muse Jester instead of the Divine Wolves, made very much because of Bejeweled Shrine. We don't have an AoE 5 damage spell this time, so we have to manually clear their wards. And because of that, we want to get rid of things like Muse Jester, which can keep buffing themselves. This way we can from early on start chipping their wards down without clearing them. But with Muse Jester, we can't do that because it can keep increasing its health, which will make it much harder to find lethal. There's Azurite Maiden here. And Balanced Blessing. Looks like they didn't have Jan, which is very good for us. They could have played Jan and Manual Evil, and it would have been probably pretty bad for us, but thankfully that didn't happen. Got Freya here, but it's definitely way too late for Anne and Greya to do anything. We can evolve here, so because we still have a spare evil point, we can just go ahead and use it to clear the Divine Wolves. Or rather to put them down to 1. Keeping their followers down to 1, and then just poke them in the face even though they can heal it back up, so it's not the best move ever. Someone does evolve the Fallen Angel here. And then do hit us. So here we do have lethal, we just play 3 Miss Mirandas. One of these would have been crate. Actually, if we had saved the crate, we would have had more damage because crate could have cleared these followers for us, but I mean, hindsight, I guess. So here's Dual Barrier, we have a lot of damage on board. Actually, I misplayed here by playing Crushing Rain first. If you do the math here, Greya is 8, or rather with Blessing His Star, Greya is 10. Then with these, we have another 19 damage. So if I just hit with N first, and then just waste their healing off the Divine Wolves, then Crushing Rain plus hitting everything is lethal. But we have an evil point anyway, so we're fine there. So we go ahead and hit with N. Let's use start to buff Greya so that she hits for more. And then we can just evolve one of our Miss Mirandas for lethal. So this is the very, very rare alternative lethal. You don't do this often, but just keep in mind that you can. Those are all the games I have for you today. Again, here's the deck list if you want to play it. You can see that there is deceptively a lot going on, even though it's just like one of those solitaire setup OTK deck and setup OTK and win decks. You can see that there's a decent amount of decision making going on with this deck, especially about when to play cards like Mysteria and Exchange Party or like your cheap draw cards like Insight. So yeah, hope it gave you some idea how to play this deck. If you're looking for a very cheap deck to play this expansion, I would definitely recommend this. There is, I don't think, any other deck that can even compare to this in terms of how cheap it is compared to how strong it is. If you look at my mastery points, I guess, you can see I climbed a decent amount of recording games for this deck. I think I started at I started recording games for this like after the stream, so you can see that I climbed a lot playing this deck, trying to get good games. So yeah, it's definitely a very strong deck, and I'll definitely recommend it if you're looking for a cheap deck to play. Especially with the Grand Prix coming up, I guess, and if you're trying to finish your dailies or something during this period. So yeah, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye.